a joy for us to be with you, and we thank God for this opportunity again. We want to let you know that God is still alive and He cares for us, no matter what we may be going through. You know something? Some people pay so much money, endless money to stay alive. And some of us are so healthy with just a little problem, and we're thinking about ending our lives. I want to let you know today that life is a gift from God. And so we encourage you to cherish it. And whatever you may be faced with, it won't run for eternity. Make your right choice. Seek God. Seek good counseling. And you know you will get over what you're going through. So wherever you're viewing us from, we welcome you today. And we ask that you stay tuned and you will be blessed from this program. God bless you.
This evening, as we want to continue looking at the topic of life, and as we continue to look at that topic, we want to say from the inception that life, it's a process, and sometimes you just have to wait and wait. But at the end of the day, as you're patient, you can be victorious. We recognize that there are people out there who might be frustrated for one reason or the other. You might be going through some stuff and you're saying, I have it all together, I made sacrifices and what have you, and I'm not seeing the rewards of my sacrifice. But we want to say to you, particularly young people, to be patient and to have some faith also. Life, it's a process as we move along a continuum. You're like in a straight line, you're starting at one point, there's point A, and you want to get to point B. And we're not saying that there may not be obstacles in terms of getting to point B, but even as you remain patient, you remain focused, you can get to that point. And I think it was Winston Churchill who said that success is never final and failure is never fatal. It is courage that matters. And sometimes, even as you become courageous, you recognize, you come to realization that tough times don't last, but tough people do. And so, like my brother said before, these things will not be perennial in terms of your troubles and so on. Better will come as you remain focused and as you begin to trust God too, because God can open doors right before your eyes. You might have been in a situation where you were struggling, you were fighting, but suddenly a door has been opened, and so you can walk right into your victory. So we want to discuss this whole topic about life this evening.
Thank you, Rev. I like the platform you have created for us, because in essence, you're helping us to understand and apply the value of what I describe as life skills. Sometimes as we live, we really have not benefited from the skills necessary, not just to survive, but to succeed. Some of us have not had the chance of our parents instructing us, because they really didn't quite know. Some of us have not had the privilege of going very far in school. Some of us haven't benefited from community parenting. And so it is as if you're in a sea, tossed by the waves, not quite sure what to do, and you're not a great swimmer. You're not going to survive very long. You're going to die sometime very soon. So what we are doing is to examine some life skills. This hit me when I was reading Proverbs 31. There's a young man by the name of Lemuel, King Lemuel, and his mother gives to him some instructions. I've read this so many times, but for the first time it hit me that his mother was actually preparing him or giving him what I would describe as life skills. He started out by telling him how he should treat women and how he must not allow his appetite, his sexual appetite, to be controlled. And I thought it's a powerful instruction a mother could give to a son. You see so many nice girls, you see some who will try to toss up your head, and there are those who will even attempt to gain from you what you have. And she was trying to give him those skills, how to be able to select a proper wife, and how to be able to live and enjoy life, and not to be used by the sensual appetite. She didn't stop there. She said to him also, I want you to be careful about alcohol or those substances that people use to in the intent of getting rid of their difficulties, or just to feel high and feel nice. And she used liquor, and she said you must stay away from those things. Don't allow it to control you. Don't get involved. The people who really should use that, she said, is not you. You leave them for people who really get headache and trouble. You stay away from it. And I thought, wow, powerful instruction from her. But all she's doing is to helping him to survive, giving him life skills. And then she concluded by saying, you must always be a leader. Always be a person who will speak up for those who can't speak for themselves. You were born a king. You were born a leader. Don't be a knockabout, runabout around this place. Always fight. And so therefore conduct yourself in a manner that will be conducive to who you really are, and help those who can't help themselves. I thought, what life skills. I love them. But let us transpose that to our present day life and living. And I ask, what other life skills do we need, do our children need, to be able to survive in this hostile environment?
You know, what his mother's doing here, she's getting the nail on the head. Oftentimes we limit life skills to doing. You need to be able to do this, you need to be able to do this. But I think what is key here, she's focusing on how we're thinking. And that's critical for life skill. If we can get our young people from a very early age to think in a particular manner, then I believe that some of the issues that they confront later in life would be removed. You think, because she's saying, consider these things here. Even before he might have been approached by a young woman, even before he might have been approached by someone who offers him alcohol, said, think and consider these here. So if we're going to really help in terms of teaching life skill, it goes back to the, as Pastor would say, the cognitive. Am I right? Yes, it goes back to that. So
I like that. I really like this foundation. And I'm thinking Lemuel and his mom. And I'm thinking about the atmosphere, the environment for him to be able to become what he must become. And the instruction that his mother is giving to him as a young man. We don't know if she was a single parent or what, but it is his mother who's giving him the instruction. Let's look at the environment. I am quite certain, there's no evidence of this here, but I'm quite certain there would have been no drop of alcohol in the home for him to be tempted by. So it's not just giving the instruction, but ensuring that the environment is conducive to adhering and growing in the right manner so that you can become. And what we find in today's society is that, yes, instructions might be given, but the things that go contrary to the instructions are available to lead the children away. And we got to deal with those kind of issues.
Well, I agree with you. And I think his mother was conscious that those things are there. And because they are there, she is building within him a capacity that he will not become a victim to those things, that no one will take his weakness and use it against him. So he's such a smart mother. And the part that I really love is how she is forcing him to become a community leader. How she's forcing him to become a community parent. How she's demanding of him that you must not just develop, but you must see it as your responsibility to help others around you.
You know, two observations here. Lemuel, he was king. And clearly his mother, in relation to strong drink, was attempting to show him how strong drink can actually affect your judgment, affect how you operate as king. Another observation is that we may not be kings in the sense of we are physical kings, we have our domain, all right? But this is what God has desired for us to be, kings and priests unto Him. And so the other thing is, or the other side to that, as we apply it to us, if we move in the realm of drinking and so on, we would not be able to operate in that realm that God desires for us to operate. So someone might be reading this and say, man, it just, it applies to Lemuel as king, but then we are also kings, because this is our desire. It applies to us too. So we have a responsibility to do the same things that Lemuel's mom is asking him to do here. And for two reasons. One, it will help us to become what God wants us to become. And secondly, we will be able to make a contribution to society, as his mother was asking him to speak for those who have no voice. You see, when you understand who you are as king, you begin to conduct yourself in a certain way. And this is what the mother was advocating.
You know, as we talk about life skills, I reflect on what for me was a very important life skill that I learned from a tender age, and that is of contentment. Now, contentment, not in the sense that you must settle for what you have and that is your final position. No, contentment in the sense of, this is what I have now, I will be happy in it, but I will continue to strive and aspire for better. Now, that for me set me up quite well in life, because it meant that I would not have been affected by the desire or by seeing my friends with things that I wish I had, but I don't have. But because I understood that, look, this is currently my lot, and I was happy to remain with this, knowing fully well that I will apply myself, I'll be patient, I will humble myself as well, and I will eventually achieve those things that currently I may not have. Now, because of that now in life, it means that when I got my first job, I didn't necessarily get the salary that, we all feel we work more, right? We've studied and we decided, hey, we're supposed to be earning this amount of money, but you don't always get what you want. But because I learned that secret of contentment, that life skill of contentment, I made myself comfortable, I enjoyed my job, and eventually better came. Right? But so for me, contentment was one of the things that really set me up in life.
Let me jump in here before I lose the point, because we normally, as human beings, we have expectations, and so we set expectations. Now, when you have these expectations, you have to have like a strategy or a roadmap to get to those expectations. If you set the expectations very high, and those expectations are way beyond your reach and your way of getting there, that is what leads to confusion. And that's why sometimes people set these high goals and they want to get there, and they don't have the kind of methodology, well mapped out to get there. And that's where you start to get frustrated. You start to behave bad. The next thing you know, you want to thief, you want to kill, because you say, but if you set these targets, small targets, and bit by bit you begin to pick them off, there's no good feeling like when you see that you get at least one thing that you set.
Exactly.
And so some people set a whole set of things, and one house and one car, and you go mad. So what you got to do is set these things, these targets, and hit them bit by bit, and
You sound like Libyan song.
But people talk about the sky is the limit. The sky could only be the limit because they're craft, because they're spacecraft and all of that. So I agree with you, Pastor Watson. We must set reasonable expectation. my expectations should not be kind of framed based on what my neighbor's expectations are. I work within my own limitations and I set, achievable goals, and after I would achieve one and then I move on. The contentment factor here again, I've achieved one and then I move to the next and I move, but there's always a continuum that I'm working towards.
I think what we're struggling with is, in society, we look at the Joneses. And as long as you cast your eyes over the fence, it causes problems for you because you're trying to live somebody else's life. And your contentment that you should have, you're not content with who you are in any way. So you go beyond yourself trying to make things work for you. You can't live the Joneses life, you gotta live your own life. And as you live your own life, you personally gotta know how many steps you can make in the process that life is all about.
I look across, and I want to put him on the spot. Because he seems agitated. He got something he wants to say. Pastor Sam talking about. I mean, he's an elder among our mates, right? And I can see the expression on his face, Pastor Sam.
I look at life and I take life serious. Elder Bourget said early on, life is a gift from God. It is precious. It is valuable. And it is priceless.
Yeah.
One of the things I find that there are too many people are giving up. They've thrown away their lives. I want you to know, regardless of what you're going through, somebody said life is not fair. Well, I wouldn't comment on that. Well, life is not easy. There are times it's difficult. There are times it might be smooth. But I want you to know, regardless of what you are going through, the Bible says in the book of Psalms 139, verses 13 and 14, and let me read it quick. It declares, "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made." This is your life. Regardless of what you're going through, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. Don't give up. Fight to the end and you will be successful.
Pastor Singh, I really like that last statement, don't give up. And I think that is one of our life skills that we need to bring to the fore. Learning from your mistakes and having that, making the decision to pick yourself up and go again. I heard Pastor Samus spoke earlier in the program about some young people might not get that opportunity where their parents might be able to create that enabling environment. But what about those young people that their parents create the environment, do their best, and still they go and they mess up? I want to bring my own experiences. The first time I wrote CXC, I failed all my CXC. And in those days, grade 4 was not counted. Some of them I didn't even get a 4. But not for the want of my parents not creating the environment, but there are times when you have to really stop your folly.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that for those people who didn't give up on me, your teachers, your parents, especially my elder brother. But that thing haunted me because I was the head prefect for the school. Children, the first farmers looked up to you, and you of yourself know that you can, this is foolishness. But then there comes a time when you have to learn from those mistakes, and that never happened again to me. And so we want to encourage young people, do your best, seize every opportunity, and learn from your mistakes. We are all susceptible to making mistakes, but it's what we do. After we make those mistakes, or if we make a mistake, we have to be able to pick ourselves up.
We heard about setting expectations and goals. But when we set these things, we got to work towards them.
Oh, yes.
I remember as a young man, the goal that I had when I finished school, what I wanted to do, I never get it because I didn't have the subjects that are required for it. after years, I went and I go on a trip, which is very beneficial to me now. And in many homes, you will see a $10 knocking about here and a knocking about there. When I started Connolly, I was being paid $9 for 8 hours of work. But I loved the job, and I stayed there, contented with the $9. I moved from walking to riding to driving. Got my own home, got my children and so forth. But you gotta be contented. You can't set expectation and you don't like to work. People are looking at the money that they are being offered. But some places they ask, when you go for a job, what is your experience? So I'm saying to you, young man, young lady, don't be bothered by the money. Gain the experience, gain the knowledge. And when you acquire that, you can command. After you further your education, you can command what you're looking for. But if you sit by the roadside, smoking your life away and wasting it away, what expectation? You expecting Mr. Jones to bring $1 million and drop it in your lap? All honest work is honorable. So start small and you will reach on the top of the ladder.
I want to remind us as well, even as we are in this whole context, about the element of the favor of God as well, that is very, very important. You know, in spite of what you're going through, I mean, even as we looked at Deuteronomy over the last couple of weeks, the foundation was that each home would work on these core principles and really work to develop. But at the end of the day, if you looked at a couple of verses down, you see Moses telling them that you will enjoy houses that you didn't even build. You know, you're going to be able to enjoy vineyards that you didn't even plant, and so on and so forth. So the element of the favor of God, once you put in the hard work and you do exactly what you have to do, you inculcate those principles. You know, no season could last forever, whether good or bad. So even though you might be going through what you're going through, keep at what you're doing and you trust God. The element of the favor of God will kick in the fullness of time.
You know, Pastor Sana, you asked earlier, how do we deal with disappointment from the standpoint of a young person?
Yeah.
I recall my own life as a young man. I never had a struggle with feeling inferior to others. But then there were other areas in my life that, you know, I really submitted or given to. And one of the things I've learned over time is the whole thing about being patient. And Deacon Orson alluded to also being contented, you know, and seeing, because when I look back at my life as a young man and I look at where I am today, all I could say is, but because of who God is. And you see the favor of God. And you know, from His Word we learn that each person, all of us, we are exposed to two things, time and opportunity. We need to recognize them and know when they are in our favor, how we need to deal with them. And we must never forget those persons we pass on our way up. Because we do nonsense, the likelihood of us passing them on our way down is great. So we got to be very careful.
And I like the element of encouragement. You know, encouragement plays a major role in getting from point A to point B, because you might be downright foolish in your decision making. You make some bad choices, and somebody comes along and tells you, "Don't worry about that, man. You can do it. Get up and let's get this done." And a shoulder to lean on, and somebody to say to you, "Man, forget about the past. You can do it. There's just one thing in your past. Let's press on to the future." So encouragement can carry us along.
I want to say thank you, brothers, because I personally grown as I listen to the different kinds of life skills that we are learning. And so you out there, like us, are learning. Pastor Hudson, I remember you talking a lot about your father. How did you handle when he passed?
Well,
because some of us, some of the major people in our life, sometimes just they go.
Exactly, yeah.
How you
you
handle
know,
that kind of
to tell you the truth,
life skill?
it has been very painful, and I don't know if something is wrong with me or what, but you know, even at the age of 50, sometimes I reflect, and I'm in my bed sometimes when I reflect on this man having me on his leg and he's teaching me, he's seeing me after school, and I started crying, you know. And there is this song, I think it is Luther Van Ross who sang it, I would like to dance for my father again. And you know, one time the song was playing and tears came, and I said, hey man, you're 50 years old. You don't rest yourself, you know? But you know, this dance with my father again, you know, it has been painful, and that's why it is so important. I don't think lots of men who are running around out there know the impact and the importance that they have on the life of their children, particularly their sons. And some of those sons want to dance with their fathers, you know, and so my call, our call is as a man, go back home, take care of your children because they want to dance with you.
This week, a young man who looks up to me like a father figure called me urgently. He said, I want to see you now. I must see you now. This is trouble. So I met him, and in meeting him, he worked out some issues, some serious matters that came up. And he said, you know, I want to thank you for being a father in my life. Because I never grew up with a dad. I never had one. And for that reason, I will always be a father to my son. There are times when things are tough. I told myself I will always be there for him because I really want to teach him. I want to ask you, why not teach your children, mom, dad, the skills that will help them to survive? Young man, young woman, why not grasp the skills that will help you to make it through this hostile environment? And I must submit, there is a God. He is right there, a present help in the time of trouble. Invite him. He will help you. He will connect you. He will give you the kinds of favor you need. And at the end of the day, you will see how you will walk through the valley of the shadow of death and still be able to make it. Now, this is choices. Choose God. Choose life. Your whole life is dependent on the sum total of your choices. God bless you.
We thank you for joining us this evening. We want to remind you to join us for our special services at First Assembly. I'm Celicia on behalf of the set, reminding you that your whole life is the sum of your choices. God bless you.